Math 1, Unit 7.5, questions number 10 through 18. All right, number 10. In the diagram, XY bisects angle WXZ. XY bisects it, which means cuts it in half into two equal parts. So WXY is congruent to YXZ. These two angles are congruent. These are congruency lines, and you can barely see them down there, but they already had congruency lines, which means 7x minus 7 equals 5x plus 3. So we set them equal to each other. We subtract 5x from both sides, which gives us 2x minus 7 equals 3. We add 7 to both sides, and we end up with 2x equals 10. And then we divide both sides by 2. So x equals 5. So the hardest part of this equation is understanding that a bisector cuts the big angle into two smaller equal angles, and then you set those measures equal to each other. Solve for x. Now we have x equals 5. All right, now A says find x and find the measure of WXY. Well, WXY is 7x minus 7. So the measure of WXY is 7 times 5 minus 7, which is 35 minus 7, or 28. So the measure of angle WXY is 28 degrees. All right? So B asked you to find the measure of angle YXZ. Okay, now remember, these two are equal. So I don't have to do any work. I already know that the measure of YXZ is equal to 28 degrees because I know WXY and YXZ are congruent, so I know they're both 28 degrees. Now, I'll be honest with you, in homework, I would just automatically know that. On a test or quiz, I would still probably go ahead and plug this in just to make sure. And 5 times 5 is 25 plus 3 is 28. And finally, they want the measure of the big angle, WXZ. The measure of angle WXZ is just 28 plus 28, or 56 degrees. Any questions on that one? Okay, moving on. Number 11. So this was angle bisector. You set the two smaller angles equal to each other. This one is angle addition postulate. First, it tells you that the measure of angle ADC, that's this guy right here, they tell you that that angle is 8 times x plus 1. So I always put my information on the diagram. Then it goes on to tell you the measure of angle ADB is 4x plus 3, and the measure of angle BDC is 6x minus 10. This is angle addition postulate. These two smaller angles equal the bigger angle. So we solve that over here by saying 4x plus 3, that's this angle, plus 6x minus 10, this angle, equals the whole angle, which is 8 times x plus 1. Okay, again, a pretty simple concept, and now we have some basic algebra to do. We're going to combine like terms and distribute. We'll do that all in one step, and we end up with 10x minus 7 equals 8x plus 8. I'll subtract 8x from both sides, and I end up with 2x minus 7 equals 8. I add 7 to both sides. I get 2x equals 15. I divide by 2, and I get x equals 7.5. Now, whenever I come up with a decimal, I always just go back and double check my work. I looked at all my work, and x equals 7.5 seems to be right. Okay, now that I found x, I can find the measure of angle ADB, which is simply, running out of room here, so we simply know it's 4 times 7.5 plus 3, which tells me that is 4 times 7 is 28, 4 times 0.5 is 2, so that's 30 plus 3, or 33 degrees. Then they want to find the measure of BDC, which is right here. Well, that's 6 times 7.5 minus 10. Well, 6 times 7 is 42, and half of 6 is 3, so 45 minus 10 is 35 degrees. And the next question is DB an angle bisector for angle ADC? So they want to know if DB bisects ADC. Well, if it did bisect, it would cut it into 2 equal halves, wouldn't it? And clearly they're not equal because this guy is 33 degrees and this guy is 35 degrees. So we would say no. Why or why not? Real simply because the measure of angle ADB is not equal to the measure of angle BDC. Questions? Okay, moving on. The measure of angle ABD is 12x plus 5. The measure of angle DBC is 8x minus 5. When we started class today, you guys, I think you told me these guys were what? They're adjacent, and they're supplementary. They're a linear pair. So since they are a linear pair, it means they are supplementary. They add up to 180. So let's add these two together and set them equal to 180. So 12x plus 5 plus 8x minus 5 equals 180 degrees. Combine like terms. We get 12 plus 8 is 20x. The 5's cancel each other out. We get 20x equals 180. We divide both sides by 20, and we get x equals 9. So we found x. X equals 9. They want ABD. The measure of angle ABD is 12x plus 5. Or, that's what, 108 plus 5? So the measure of angle ABD is 113. Now again, if this was a test or quiz to find measure of angle DBC, I would plug that in as well. In fact, maybe I will just to make sure you guys understand. We're looking for measure of angle DBC here, and that is 8 times 9 minus 5. And that means the measure of angle DBC is 8 times 9 is 72, minus 5 is 67. And hopefully you can tell that those two add up to 180, don't they? So it's correct. Any questions on that one? Okay, let's go on and do 13 through 18. Whenever I'm doing these, I like to go ahead and like to put every measure up there before I even look at these. And we can do that with just one angle. And I'll tell you the process I go through. First thing I notice is GKH is a right angle, which means it's 90 degrees, which means the measure of angle HKJ has to be 90 degrees as well, because JG is a line segment. Well, if these two have to add up to 90, then 90 minus 48 is 42 degrees. All right. Well, vertical angles tell me that these two guys have to be congruent because they were created by two line segments, which means FKG has to equal 42 degrees as well. And since JG is a line segment, I understand that these two angles have to be a linear pair, which means they have to add up to 180. So 180 minus 42 is 138. So through a really easy, simple process of elimination, I was able to figure out what every angle measure is. And now over here, it's just a matter of doing a little addition or subtraction, and we can get all of them. HKJ, HKJ is right here, right? That's 90 degrees. Did I get that right? HKJ, yep. Let's see, IKJ. Well, let's see, IKJ is right here. That's 42 degrees. FKG right here, 42 degrees as well. Those two guys are vertical angles. FKH right here is 90 plus 142, or excuse me, 90 plus 42 to give us 132. And FKJ right here is 138. And finally, GKI is 90 plus 48, or 138. And in fact, these two guys are vertical angles, because this angle right here and this angle right here are created by these two intersecting line segments. Any questions?